Someone messed with your food tonight. Those words, scribbled fast on a wrinkled napkin, hit harder than any news story. They stopped Malcolm Devo, a billionaire CEO, mid-bite, his fork close to his mouth. He'd seen business backstabbing and money problems, but this felt different. It wasn't business. It felt personal, and it would become a dark story that would shake up everything. Malcolm didn't go to the cradle for a fancy dinner. He went in disguise, wearing a plain sweatshirt and old trainers, to check out some rumors he couldn't ignore. An unsigned letter claimed his fancy restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina, was biased when they served black customers and did gross things in the kitchen. He wanted to see for himself, alone, no assistance, no special treatment. From the second he walked in, the rumors seemed real. They sat him near the bathroom and ignored him for 10 minutes. The server completely skipped his table. Then this happened, maybe from a waitress whose eyes looked scared and who worked too much. Her name was Naomi. She didn't ask for help. She only told the truth. And that truth ruined the image of a fancy, poisonous operation. This isn't just food. It's about being brave, about what happens when someone risks their whole world to do the right thing. It's about the hidden racism that still infects high-class places and how one woman's bravery started a change. This is a black story, and if you've ever thought about where fairness starts, this is the start. Before we begin, hit the like button and subscribe for stories that feel real, stories that affect you and change the way you think. Okay, get ready, because the next 10 minutes will change how you look at power, race, and what can happen when a simple napkin tells the truth. Malcolm Devo turned quietness into a superpower. By 46, he was a black CEO that lots of people admired. He was a tech whiz who became an investor and built his huge company with smarts and hard work. He thought about everything he said and every deal he made. He didn't depend on luck, but on facts, focus, and being true to himself. But even facts couldn't get him ready for the note Naomi left him. Malcolm always knew what it was like to be underestimated. He grew up in a small town in Alabama with his grandma. His mom worked hard cleaning so he could have nice clothes for school. He got his first computer from a church donation. With the money from his first business, he created a scholarship when he was 24. Success doesn't make you forget things, it just hides them. Now, he was the founder of Devo Capital Holdings and had money in energy, finance, and fancy hotels. He had a cool black Tesla, was on the boards of 5 big companies, and lived in a penthouse by Central Park. But deep down, he was still the kid who learned to tie a tie from YouTube for his first business meeting. He did not love showing off with expensive watches or shoes. Malcolm knew people made quick judgments about black men before they even spoke. So, when he got an anonymous letter 2 weeks before that said one of his restaurants was treating black customers and workers badly, he didn't send a lawyer or a PR team. He got a bus ticket, put on a hoodie, and went to check it out for himself. When he walked into the cradle that night, nobody knew who he was. That was the idea. Malcolm had learned sometimes you have to fit in to find things out. He wasn't just a CEO, he was a mirror. Now, he wanted the system to look at its real self. Real leaders see what others tend to miss. The cradle was a place where people got quiet when they walked in. It was in an old house downtown and felt southern and fancy. Velvet curtains, gold-rimmed glasses, and candles made everyone feel special. You went there to be seen. The walls had pictures of Confederate generals but without names. The website said the name The Cradle was about Charleston's history as the start of Southern style. But Malcolm thought it meant something bad, like keeping people out and being in charge. Even before he went inside, you could feel the tone as soon as you got there. The hostess, a young white woman who stood up straight and smiled like she had to, looked at what he was wearing like it was a problem. She didn't know him, which was on purpose. He had on a plain hoodie, dark jeans, and regular sneakers. "Do you have a spot?" she asked, not sounding friendly. "No," Malcolm said quietly. She sighed, acting annoyed. "We're all booked tonight. I guess we can put you at the bar or near the kitchen. Is that okay?" Malcolm said. "That's fine." He followed her through the fancy room, past tables of white customers in suits and dresses. The only black people were working there. It was still like it used to be. She took him to a table near the kitchen doors, where it smelled like bleach every time they opened. No candle, no warmth, just a menu. Malcolm sat quietly, watching the room. The servers smiled bigger at tables with Rolexes and rich people. The manager, a middle-aged guy with combed-back hair, went around like a politician at a party, shaking hands and laughing a lot. But he didn't even look at Malcolm. The cradle wasn't broken. It was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. And Malcolm, just watching, saw it for what it was. Not a normal normal place to eat, but a show where looking good mattered more than being human, and old history was covered with fancy stuff and called it tradition. Naomi Brooks moved quietly, like someone who knew how to walk carefully. Even though she was only 25, she seemed like she'd been through a lot. She wasn't loud, but her soft eyes were sharp. She once wanted to be a civil rights lawyer. Halfway through law school at Howard, her life fell apart. Her mom got cancer suddenly. The bills came faster than her money. So she dropped out of college, packed everything into a suitcase, came back to Charleston, and took the first job she could find, a server at the Cradle. The pay was okay, but it was a bad place to work. Naomi was the only black server. The bosses never actually said anything, but she could tell from her schedule. Always double shifts, always the worst tables, always blamed when things went wrong. She smiled like she was wearing protection, calling everyone sir or ma'am. She poured wine, cleaned tables, and kept her feelings inside every day. But even protection wears out. It was the way the manager, Mr. Clay, looked at her, like she wasn't worth talking to. The way the other servers joked when she didn't get tips. One time the chef joked about sending gross stuff to black tables. She never laughed. She just remembered it. She wasn't weak. She was watching and waiting and trying to deal with. Tonight was different, though. The guy at table 14 was not like the others. No fancy watches or bossy orders. He just sat there, quiet and observant, almost too calm. When she said hi, he looked right at her, really saw her, took her in. It shook her up a bit. Naomi wasn't just a waitress. She saw all the little unfair things, the quiet insults, the way the rules changed depending on who it was. Tonight, she was done watching. Tonight, she would do something, even if it got her in trouble. The presidential prime wasn't just a steak, it was a show. A huge 48-ounce Wagyu, aged for 90 days, brought out under a clear dome filled with rosemary smoke. It had fancy potatoes with truffle and cost $700. One food writer said it was more for show than flavor. When Malcolm ordered it, Naomi blinked. "The presidential prime?" she asked, trying to sound normal, but her stomach did a flip. He nodded, calm as could be. "Medium rare, with the 2005 Staglin Cabernet." Another pricey choice, costing $200. Naomi had brought that dish out tons of times, to rich guys, politicians, famous people with special credit cards. Never to a guy in sneakers and a hoodie. Never to someone sitting near the kitchen. She felt like she was being watched. Across the room, Mr. Clay was standing, arms crossed, watching her like a hawk. She knew what he was thinking. She was wasting time. The guy couldn't pay for it, and if he didn't, she would get blamed. She paused too long. "Is something wrong?" Malcolm asked quietly, but with a bit of an edge. "No, sir," she said quickly. "Coming right up." She turned to the computer, her heart racing. Every server knew the rule. If someone looked like they might not be able to pay for an expensive meal, you had to get a credit card first. No exceptions. But Naomi didn't do that. She put the order in like normal. When the screen turned red, asking for a manager's okay, she used her own ID to override it. She'd just bet her job on a $700 steak and some wine, trusting her gut. Mr. Clay's loud voice echoed. "Did he pay in advance?" Without turning, she said, "No, sir," he barked back. "Then he better pay." But Naomi wasn't. Hoping, she was thinking. Maybe this guy wasn't here to eat. Maybe he was checking things out, and if so, he was about to see it all. Naomi had seen a lot in that kitchen, but tonight was different. As the presidential prime was being prepped, she spotted Chef Rick, more famous for being a jerk than a good cook, leaning over the sizzling steak, smirking like he was up to no good. Then it happened. Quick, sneaky. For sure. He spat on the meat, flipped it, and acted all innocent. The sous chef laughed. Naomi froze. At first, she didn't want to believe it. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe she didn't see it right. But the laughter proved it. This wasn't the first time. It was a regular thing. And the steak was ready to go. Rage boiled inside her, but she couldn't shout or cause a scene. Not yet. She looked over at the dining room, where Malcolm sat. Still cool, still watching. The guy who seemed out of place, but ordered like he belonged. They didn't know who he was, but she had a weird feeling, and that messed things up. She had seconds to decide. Keep quiet and serve bad food to a guy who might decide this place's fate or risk her job. She reached into her apron, grabbed her pen and a clean napkin. Her hands were shaking as she wrote, the ink a bit messy. "They messed with your food. This is not a good place. Look at the kitchen cameras. No name, no signature, just the truth, folded up tight." She put it in her pocket as the steak was passed to her under a silver lid. Her heart hammered as she took the plate across the dining room. Malcolm looked up as she got closer. Like she'd done it 1,000,000 times, she put the dish down, took off the lid, and said quietly, "Enjoy your meal, sir." He nodded as she took away the bread plate with her right hand. Her left slipped the napkin under his plate. A second later, she was gone. No talking, no looking back, just hoping that the guy at table 14 would read what she wrote. Malcolm sat still for a bit, staring at the folded napkin like it might blow up. He hadn't touched his steak or anything. Naomi was looking at him in a way that made him stop. She wasn't saying anything, but he could tell she was serious by how she was standing, how she was breathing, and how her fingers were twitching. He slowly reached out, grabbed the napkin, and opened it up. The words jumped out at him. "They messed with your food. This place isn't safe. Look at the kitchen cameras." His jaw clenched and his face went hard. He wasn't surprised someone messed with his food. He'd been through worse undercover, checking stuff out. It was the "this place isn't safe" part that got to him. That was bigger. That meant there was a real problem. Naomi wasn't just watching his back. She was warning him about something bad. Malcolm folded the napkin, put it in his pocket, and moved his plate away. He didn't want to cause trouble or call anyone over. Not yet. He got out his cheap phone and opened a secure app. He sent a quick message to his head of security back in New York. "Something's up at the Cradle. Get the kitchen camera footage from tonight. Check out the staff files. Do it quietly and fast and send me a full report." Then he stood up. Mr. Clay across the room saw him and squinted as Malcolm came over. "Is everything all right, sir?" Clay asked, faking a smile. Malcolm's voice was even but cold. "I need to talk to you in private about the food." "Sure," Clay said, pointing toward a hallway with a bunch of awards on the walls. Inside the office, Malcolm stayed standing. He let Clay talk first, going on about how they want customers to be happy and how great the food is. It was just noise. Malcolm stopped him. "Show me the kitchen cameras. Now." Clay's smile faded a little. "Sorry, you heard me." Malcolm wasn't playing anymore. He was done with the act. Clay seemed unsure, which only made Malcolm think he was hiding something. "The cameras? They're just for keeping track of stuff, not dealing with customer problems," Clay mumbled, trying to stall. Malcolm stood his ground. "Okay, then, just show me the video from tonight. I want to see when my steak was cooked." Clay started to sweat. "I'd have to get permission for that. The system saves video in half-hour chunks, and sometimes it records over itself if it runs out of space. We might not even have it." Malcolm didn't let him finish. His voice was quiet but firm. "You have one chance to deal with this the right way. Either you help me figure this out or you try to hide it." Clay's face lost all color. He took one last shot. "Sir, who are you exactly?" Malcolm stepped closer, his words full of weight. "I own this restaurant, and if you lie to me again, you're fired." Clay opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked flustered as he got up and grabbed a dusty hard drive from a cabinet, plugging it into a monitor. As he fast-forwarded through the choppy footage, the area where food was prepped came into view. Malcolm folded his arms. Clay clicked forward again, but suddenly the video skipped. It wasn't a mistake. Someone had cut it on purpose. 2 minutes and 12 seconds were missing, exactly when Naomi's food was put on the plate. Clay started to fumble around, but Malcolm stopped him with a simple, "That's enough." Outside, the sounds of the restaurant kept going. Forks hitting plates, wine being poured, people laughing. But inside, it was completely silent. Malcolm sent another text. "Got some of the video, but it looks like someone messed with it. Keep an eye on Clay. Talk to the staff, and save all the files." He turned to the manager, who was now covered in sweat. "You're done for the night. Walk me out, then go home. And I think you should call a lawyer." Clay was stunned, not realizing how bad things were about to get, but it was too late. The first step had already been taken. The drive to the hotel felt super long. Malcolm kept the radio off. He just needed quiet to think. When he got to his room, his security guys already had things in motion. They'd grabbed backups from the cloud, untouched files that no one local messed with. The team exposed what Clay tried to hide. Malcolm poured some water, sat down, and pulled up the file. There it was, clear as day. Chef Rick leaning over the presidential prime steak, spitting on it, then smirking. The sous chef laughed. The audio was quiet, but you could hear Rick muttering, "That's what you get for thinking you're better than us." Malcolm leaned back, not surprised or mad, but with clarity. This wasn't a slip-up. It was a nasty pattern to put people like him down. Worse, the log showed other stuff, like a black couple sat at the back and waited a half hour for food. The kitchen thought it was so funny when Rick dropped a steak on the floor and grilled it again. It was a habit, not just a one-time thing. Malcolm saved and locked the files on 2 servers, one for the lawyers and one for PR. His message was simple: check everything, talk to everyone, and prep compliance training. Don't say a word until I say it's okay. He looked out at Charleston. They tried to screw with him, but they screwed up. Now it's not just about a steak. It's about what's right, change, and having people own up to their actions. All on record, under oath, and out of the blue, Naomi showed up to work the next day totally wiped. She barely slept after everything that went down. Ever since she slipped that napkin, she'd been a nervous wreck, waiting for someone to call her out. But when she walked in the back of the cradle, nobody said a word. No dirty looks, no smirks, nothing, until the hostess told her quietly, "Mr. Clay wants to see you." Now, Naomi froze. She didn't even clock in. She just straightened her apron and headed down the hall to the manager's office. She was expecting Clay, maybe someone from HR or even security, but it wasn't them. It was Malcolm, still in that hoodie, still cool as could be, just standing there. The whole vibe of the room changed. "Naomi Brooks," he said, pointing to a chair. She stayed standing. "I know," she whispered. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have." He held up his hand. "No, you should have, and you did." Her heart was pounding. "Am I getting fired?" He shook his head. "Not by me." Naomi was confused. "I own this place," he said quietly. "The building, the name, everyone who works here, they all answer to me." Her legs gave out, and she sat down. "I've seen the security videos. I know what's been happening here, maybe for years." Naomi looked down. "I didn't know who else to tell." "You didn't need to," Malcolm said. "You did more than most people would." He stopped for a second. "Here's the thing. I could shut this whole place down today. Fire everyone, change the name, and start from scratch. And I will. But first, I need you to do something for me." Naomi's voice shook. "What?" "I'm giving you a choice." He leaned forward. "You can walk away quietly. I'll make sure you're taken care of. I can get you a scholarship, a job, whatever you need." She stared at him. "Or you can stay and help me rebuild this place from the ground up by becoming the director of ethics and culture." The room went silent. "You trust me with that?" she asked. Malcolm nodded. "I already did. You just didn't know it." For the first time in forever, Naomi let out a breath without being scared.